Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer. Greetings to you. Well, if you tuned into last week's show, you will know that we are in part 2 of the Globalization of American Democracy by Francisco DiBlasi. And Francisco DiBlasi is a brilliant political scientist who has written extensively in his book, The Globalization of American Democracy, what is at stake in the national 2020 election. And what we did in last week's show was lay out how democracy is the only protection we have against despotism and autocrats and people who are fearmongers and who try to exploit other people so that they can be richer and more powerful. And that it's easy. If you don't have democracy, and people well read and caring as citizens and global citizens, then we are at risk of being taken over and ruled. And what we did last week was to look at the global aspects and the international aspects and the national aspects. And what we're looking at now is how it affects you and me, okay? Because the personal is political and the political is personal. So welcome back, Francisco DiBlasi.
It's a pleasure to be with you. You have a great mind and a great personality. And our friendship, as I said in the first show, goes back to 20 years ago.
Yes.
And I tell you, you were one of my stars in the American Management Association. So,
I love to hear that, Francisco. I love to hear that.
Of course.
Thank you, dear. And you told me at the time, too, which made me feel great.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. That's always encouraging.
Yes. Now, the new focus, or the second interview, the second phase, is an emphasis on the individual.
Yes.
And I believe, is my personal experience and with the way I was raised, is that patriotism and civility begins at home with respect for our parents, for our family, their opinions. And unfortunately, in my experience, in Nicaragua, in Panama, in Argentina, and now in the United States, families are being split by two opposite candidates. And let me start very simply with Argentina, and the better known, or the best known Argentine perhaps, is Evita Perón.
Yes.
And the musical. I always said that Evita Perón, the country was divided in two main factions. People who were against Perón and people who were about Perón. In favor of Perón. Mm-hmm. And it was a cut along, essentially, class, education, and economic power. And the people that watched the rise of Evita Perón, by the standards of the year, of the time, they considered her a prostitute because she was a poor woman born out of wedlock that went to Buenos Aires in a farm and went to Buenos Aires and had relations with prominent people until she met Perón. But 2 or 3, that right now, even our president now has been married 3 times. So
yes.
It's a different standard altogether.
So they found that as a way to
pull her down. And those that were in favor of Perón and Evita saw what she did for the poor, for
Yeah.
the disenfranchised. And she was a force in getting women's vote in the mid-40s. Okay? So that's a typical example. And the division persists today after more than almost 70 years. The country is split in two, and people are, if you go into any media outlet, you will see and how they insult themselves and how they say, oh, and the government is this and the government that, and they use foul words and all that. So it's a global pattern.
Wow. And let me just interrupt by saying that my husband and I visited Argentina so that Buenos Aires, so we could learn the Argentine tango.
Oh.
And when we did, we went to Eva Perón's Evita, her grave, which is not a grave, it's like a large mausoleum, a
right.
large building. And she is, I thought she was very generally revered by the country. I didn't realize there was still such divisiveness about the Peróns. But
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So okay. So she was a good dictator. She was a good dictator's wife. She was a do-gooder, or what are you saying about Perón?
The paradox was Perón was very intelligent. He was trained in Italy, as we do today, that we have military from other countries come here. And in Argentina, the people from the army went for training normally to Italy or even Germany. And the people from the Navy will go to England because of tradition, because of a number of factors. And, the main issue in the military in Argentina was their participation in politics. And when Perón, and this is a very interesting case concerning what's happening now with the allegations of Russian interference. The American ambassador was against Perón's candidacy in 1946 because he claimed that he had been trained by Mussolini's propaganda techniques and things. And so he said the election, Perón should not be elected, should be the other candidate who was Farrell. And Perón was so bright that the only thing he said is the election is not between Farrell and Perón. The election is between Braden, who was the name of the American ambassador, and Perón.
Oh.
And that produced a landslide. People sided immediately with Perón because he saw the ambassador was kicked out of the country and continued to oppose Perón from the United States. Okay.
So they basically said he was a fascist,
right.
influenced by Mussolini.
Right.
So come back to us in terms of how the divisiveness in Argentina, the divisiveness in the United States, and how do we cope with this interpersonally?
I think that the issue should be recognizing the individuality and recognizing the factors that separate us. And it goes back to what we discussed in the first program, which is genocide is wrong and slavery is second to genocide only in terms of as an aberration. However, observe the following. The Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust, was horrible and killed 6 million people. But when in the 1990s we had the Rwandan Holocaust, a friend of mine who was very high in the CIA told me, you want to know something? Clinton had troops nearby that he could have sent into Rwanda. But the Rwandans didn't have blue eyes and blue hair. So why get involved in... And then Clinton confirmed after he left the presidency that the only real regret that he had is not to have been taking action to stop the Rwanda massacre. In 3
Oh,
days,
wow.
in 3 days, in a schoolyard, 25,000 men, women, and children were decapitated, the women after being violated. And in the meanwhile, the mass media was paying attention to the Michael Jackson accusations of having slept with a boy. Okay?
Francisco DiBlasi, author of Globalization of American Democracy. I have to tell you, I have goosebumps. I actually feel nauseous with this information. I mean, I knew something about Rwanda, but I didn't know. You said 25,000?
Yeah, but more than 300,000.
Oh, yeah, but just in this one event, decapitated.
Yeah.
And the women violated, yes.
No, yeah, and then killed.
Yeah.
So, unless we understand and that something has to change, and this is a crucial moment. Now, it's very difficult. We have lost sense of what is right and what is wrong, who does what and who doesn't. Everything is fake news and everything is the truth. Everyone tells lies and everyone counterfeits lies.
Yes.
Okay? Now, how do we know that the rioters, I mean, I have a very close friend of mine who is the first generation Korean, and her parents are in Chicago. They are a store that they built after 30 years of labor, okay, was ransacked, and they came and they practically were almost ready to kill them. Okay? How do we know? How do we know that those were not gang members? All of a sudden, you don't hear anyone talking about all the terrible M19 gangs and all that. Where are they? Are you sleeping? You're afraid of the virus?
Mm-hmm.
So they might be blending into the political processes going on. So
yes,
that is getting the Black Lives Matter movement totally distorted, okay? And the aspirations of racial justice and equity, okay, distorted. But this is a crucial point where change has to take place, because we are, and the other day I was totally upset with myself because I coined this message, as I once said it in the Morning Joe. We are on the verge, we're on a status of cold civil war.
Yes.
Everything that is happening is the equivalent of what happened between the big powers in the Civil War, but at a national scale. So the thing should start at the family level. At the family level, people should analyze and desensitize themselves from fear, from hatred, and we can do that. If we don't do it, we are going to be the victims of the disintegration of America, and particularly the young ones, because as I said, at 75, I don't know how much longer I have. Okay? So if you really care about your family, if you really care about the future, okay? Now, if you are concerned about the population growth of the Latin American immigrants, give them jobs, give them opportunities and education, and their fertility rate will drop dramatically. You keep them repressed and all that. They don't have access to family planning. They don't have access to sex education. Then you will see how the balance gets tilted the other way. However, however, what could happen, and this is my personal belief, first of all, the organized religions, as described by Professor Huntington in his book, have become the confronting blocks. You have the Muslims, the Christians, even within the Jews, you have groups that use faith as power.
Okay.
And to propagate their faith is to increase their lion's share of power. That's
so
one thing.
God is on my side. No, God is on my side, which we've had since before the Crusades, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm killing you in the name of God. Oh, I'm killing you in the name of God.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like how you put that, confronting blocks. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so Then comes the issue of allies that we left pending in our last discussion. Part of the erosion that Russia is creating is to undermine our alliances, because our alliances make us strong. We did not start NATO to protect them. We started NATO to protect our interests in Europe.
Yes,
to
of
protect
course.
General Motors, to protect our trade, to protect ourselves.
All the money we've given, I think we are a humanistic country, yes, but I also think that it wasn't just altruistic. It's to protect ourselves financially. So that's very important that we have these alliances to not only help our allies, but to help ourselves.
Yeah. And one thing that one has to understand in the international relations is the factor of that I use with my friends. I love to use my friends, and I like to be used by my friends. The thing gets bad when only one side uses and the other one is not permitted to use, benefit from. And when someone abuses the friends rather than uses the friends. For instance, in this case, you have done so much for me with these interviews, Duffy.
Yeah.
That, anything you ask me now, it will be just the right thing to do. I may not be able to pay you back, but I will help other people. And that's the chain of life.
Of course.
Thank
you. And I'm so happy to help. And you're helping me and you're helping us, Francisco DiBlasi, the globalization of American democracy. And I think that's a very good point, the international relationships, that we can use our friends for the good or the bad, for the yay or for the nay. And we certainly don't want to exploit our friends. By definition, one does not exploit one's friends. Yeah. So
and one of the things that I always use if sex wasn't fun, there will be no life. Because
that's very true.
No animals will reproduce, and we will not reproduce.
Right. Where's the motivation to take the time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in any event, and one thing that is also pending in my mind is the whole issue of technology.
Yes.
And how technology has changed the nature of the family relations and the connectivity. One thing that shocked me, coming from a home where we had gardens and we would eat in the garden during the good weather, invariably, in my family, that was a tradition. People invite you to eat in the garden. So is the fact that kids all of a sudden will get up and say, oh, can I be excused after dinner? No, we used to stay at the table.
Yes.
Listening to the adults, connecting with the adults.
To socialize, absolutely, and learn from the adults.
And also establish bonding and establish an understanding of tradition. Now, what happens? Technology expands your connectivity with the outside world. You see the people walking on the streets like automatons, with their cell phones, or at home with their computers. They are plugged into their computers. It's like the famous line, the cyborgs. Resistance is futile. They are absorbed by technology. The good side of it is that I couldn't have written the books, my previous book about rooftop gardening, and now this one, if I didn't have a Wikipedia, if I didn't have Google.
Exactly.
All these facts that I had the concepts, but I didn't have the current statistics. So technology empowers me. And people should use technology before they cast their votes.
For education, for research, and just as friends can be used for the yay or the nay, there can be good and bad versions of capitalism. There can be good and bad versions, I hate to be so simplistic, good and bad, of technology. And frankly, I would not know where I would be during this pandemic without Zoom.
Yep.
And I came to it kicking and screaming because I'm kind of like a dinosaur in this way. but I had to, and it's been beneficial. Of course, it's not as good as in person, but
Oh, yeah.
look at us. You and I are on Zoom. Our radio audience cannot see us, but we can see each other. I can read your face, and I can talk to you spontaneously. There's no delay. It's a wonderful thing.
Yes, absolutely. And, for someone like myself as an immigrant and an only child, and I have two wonderful parents because they encouraged me to come to the States. And as a matter of fact, a very interesting anecdote, when I went to get my visa, I thought that there were two types of visa, student visas, the one that can be changed and the one that cannot be changed. The one that cannot be changed is not a different visa. It's a visa for the Fulbright program where they pay for your whole career here or stay, and then you have to go back to your country to put it in place. So I go to the consul and I said, oh, by the way, I want to get the visa that can be changed.
Yeah.
And the consul says to me, no, you have to return to Argentina after you finish your studies. And I look at her and I said, excuse me? I said, first of all, I don't know if I'm going to like your country. No, I said, first of all, I have never done anything illegal. So if I cannot stay, I will not stay. Second,
Yes.
I don't know if I'm going to like the country. And third, if I stay in your country, it will be good for me, but also will be good for your country.
Aww.
And then I gave her my checkbook, my savings book with the money to pay for my education. She looked at me and she said, come back at 2 p.m. to pick up your visa.
Oh, how beautiful.
But
Yeah.
I only tell you that to tell you the relationship that I was able to establish with her by telling the truth. And as the Bible says, the truth will make you free.
What you did, Francisco, was you took the lion by the tail. You spoke the main point, the unspoken. You spoke it and you said, I am not here to use you, to exploit you. I am here to be helped by you and to help you.
Absolutely.
Mutually. And you reached her. You reached a bureaucrat. And that is the way we need to look at things. For instance, the word important. I like the word applied to human beings. Human beings are important. However, there's a lot of misunderstanding. If I say you're important, it doesn't mean you're more important than someone else. The word important comes from the word import. Goods and services from foreign lands. It has now come to mean receiving ideas as well as goods and services. So everyone has something to bring to the table. Everyone can import, as you did, yourself, your philosophy, your energy, your teaching of what you've learned. So it's along those lines. So it's mutual importance. I import to you from my space what I have. You import to me from your space of what you have.
Wonderful. That captures the spirit of everything I have said.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So the family level, and you were talking about technology and the yays and nays of it, and the idea of people walking on the streets and with cell phones and not engaging. And of course, you always hear about the kids sitting in a room texting each other right next to each other, and so the adults can't hear. And you use the word balance. So, what is this balance? Yes, I want to connect to my friends. It's an and I want to connect with my family. I value what adults have to teach me. We have a youth subculture because we have secluded the youth from every aspect of our lives, and they're just supposed to go to school. And instead of being on the farm, helping, being integrated into the economy, they are just economic burdens until they're 21 or 25, okay, 30 if they go to graduate school. But children need dignity. They need to feel a part of something, and they haven't been able to feel that way. So they balk, they rebel, and say, okay, I have my subculture. The hell with you. The hell with you and your subculture. I have nothing to learn from you.
I would like to, I guess we're getting closer to the end of the.
Yes, we only have a minute. Yeah.
So I tell you, my philosophy, I'm a free thinker. I believe in the existence of a force, and religion helps many people. They have their mystical experiences. I respect that. But I see the force watching me 24/7. And when I pass on the streets by a homeless, by a person that looks catastrophic, what you used to call a basket case because they had to be carried in a basket, I said, the force or God, I still call him God or her, and he's looking at us, and he's not seeing two different human beings. He's looking at us as humans, and he's looking at our souls, you know? So I suggest that everyone that sees someone on the streets, poor, or of a different color of skin or color of eyes, you know, look at them and says, that's me. When I see a mother and a child, regardless of the race or the size or the age, I see my parents, I see myself in them.
And you see fellow human beings.
Exactly.
So, Francisco, you have this wonderful scorecard. So, DiBlasi, D-E capital B-L.
No. D-I.
Oh, D-I, sorry. Capital B.
L-A-S-I. But the email address is mydecision2020@gmail.com.
mydecision2020@gmail. If you contact Francisco DiBlasi in this email, he will send you a score for free. Wonderful, a scorecard to give you information and help you decide what are the real facts here, the real consequences, how to help you determine as an educated citizen the best candidate to vote for. Yes?
Absolutely.
So mydecision2020@gmail. And if anyone is interested in contacting me, my email is Dr. Duffy, D-R-D-U-F-F-Y, Spencer, @gmail.com. So mydecision2020@gmail and Dr. Duffy Spencer @gmail.com. So Francisco, this is the end of a 2-part series, and I have to tell you, this show has gone by so fast. You have so much to say, so much to contribute, so much to teach. Will you come on the show again? Will you come on Just Relationships, WHPC 90.3 again?
I work as a counselor in college, and the anecdotes I have about dealing with my students are amazing. And I learn from them as much as I help them.
Wow, it's reciprocity. The basic human social principle is reciprocity. We want to receive and we want to give and we want to reciprocate. That's the name of the game for interpersonal relations. So this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.